Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Running Out of Time 2, a Hong Kong suspense flick from 2001 that was directed by Johnnie To. So is this second installment as awesome as its predecessor? Well, after seeing the thumbnail of this video, you could probably tell that my answer to that question is no. No, it isn't. Now this film begins with a shot of Ekin Cheng as he plays with his pet eagle. No, this isn't a Hong Kong remake of The Beastmaster. It's Running Out of Time, Part 2. So then we see Kelly Lin at a business meeting, and her associates are complaining that some valuable artifacts are being stolen from them. Lau Ching-wan, reprising his role from the first film, comes in to investigate and thinks there may be a problem with the related insurance company. Ekin Cheng then makes his impact as a suicide jumper on a rooftop, but we all know that he's just trying to make contact with Lau Ching-wan to play a game, just like Andy Lau did in the first film. After all, it's running out of time. Now, going from Andy Lau to Ekin Cheng in your lead role is a pretty big downgrade in terms of acting talent. You know, I've never found Ekin to be a talented actor, but he has had a small handful of entertaining roles over the years, which is likely due to the sheer quantity of roles and titles in his filmography. As a few examples, I really enjoyed Saving General Yang, Heroic Duo, and Heavenly Mission. And people laugh at me when I say this, that's fine. But one of my favorite Ekin Cheng movies is The Twins Effect, and I still think it's one of his most entertaining performances. His acting style and everything just worked, I think, in that movie. It's just my opinion. But in Running Out of Time 2, he has the same facial expression from start to finish. The mischievous grin that always says, "I know more than you do." That's his entire performance. It's completely one note. But thankfully, Lau Ching-wan brings his A game and is good as usual. Now, outside of Ekin, I also had a problem with the script writing. You know, the screenplay is not as thoughtful as its predecessor, especially the cat and mouse stuff, because Ekin frequently escapes by either breaking the law of physics and relying on the sheer idiocy of the police force. So, for example, near the beginning of the movie, he jumps off of like a 50-story building, somehow floats down like a feather, despite not having a parachute, and then disappears into an airbag placed on the ground by the cops. So he lands in this airbag that they put down for like suicide, people. And when they look at the airbag, he just completely disappeared into thin air. And this happens another time in the movie where he falls off of a building, and then the cops look over the edge, and he's just gone. He's just gone. Like, how did he do this? So within the first opening 20 minutes, Running Out of Time Part 2 completely destroys any ability to suspend disbelief. I guess this guy knows actual wizardry or something. And then you get to see him strut around with this smirk on his face, like he's so clever. Like, dude, you're not clever. The only reason you escaped was because of bad script writing. Like, that's the only reason you escaped, dude. You're not clever. Also, Ekin's motives are so opaque that the viewer will likely lose interest in his character entirely because the film fails to leave any clues along the way, to keep you interested in what his ultimate goal is, what his ultimate plan is. It just seems like the guy's putzing around the whole time and having fun, fooling around with the cops. Also, the finale is an unsatisfying climax. Anticlimax, really. And to make matters worse, Ben Hui shows up again as the bumbling police boss, and he's even more annoying than he was in the first movie. At least it felt like he served a purpose in the first film. In this one, he's pretty terrible. He has played this role in a handful of other Johnnie To films to varying degrees of success. I mean, sometimes he's tolerable in something like Exiled, but he's at his most annoying in Running Out of Time 2. You just want to punch him in the face every time he shows up on screen. And do you know who else is underwhelming in this one? Lam Suet, the lovable chubby guy who's been in a bunch of To's other films. I almost always like seeing this guy in movies. But his side story in Running Out of Time 2 is just bad, man. He plays this game of coin flipping with Ekin Cheng's character, and he consistently guesses heads. But the coin always comes up tails. You know what I'm saying? And it reaches a point where it psychologically scars him, which is like, I don't know, man. I mean, not necessarily a problem, because it could be kind of an interesting little mystery to solve as a side plot, right? But the problem is that these coin flipping scenes, in and of themselves, are painfully repetitive to watch after a while. There's like 2 or 3 of them, that like minutes on end, he's flipping coins. And the payoff to all of this side story, is not worth it at all. But it is kind of hard to get really mad at Running Out of Time 2, despite all of its flaws. One reason for this is because watching Ekin Cheng act makes me giggle in this film. You know, another reason is that his character's pet eagle turns into a CGI eagle during certain sequences. So, for example, there's a scene where Ekin's cruising in his convertible, you know, on the highway, and his CGI eagle is like flying around the car. It's such a dumb image. It's funny. And there's a lot of times in this movie where I'll just like start giggling because Ekin's character thinks he's so much smarter than he actually is. You know what I mean? And the fact that it's just Ekin Cheng just makes it even more funny. There are multiple scenes like this to enjoy. Early in the movie, there's a scene where Ekin flips a coin. Again, all this coin flipping. You wonder why I keep bringing up coin flipping? Because there's a lot of it. There's a scene where Ekin flips a coin and doesn't even catch it. Okay? But acts like his character did in the movie. His head is turned sideways like this, and he's like mocking the cops, and he flips a coin, and you see him try to catch it, but it clearly falls through his hands. But because the camera's a close-up, he just acts like he's turning it over and looking at it. And the scene, they somehow kept the scene in the movie. Like, it's so obvious that his character did not catch the coin. It's so bad. It would have taken like 5 seconds to reshoot that scene. Nobody felt like doing it. It's such a big goof. It threw me off. I'm like, wow, that was a big one they missed. So, yeah, I don't know how a scene like that makes it to the final cut of a film. Pacing isn't too bad, but it still feels like it's wasting time on stuff that's not very interesting, like the cops driving around looking for the CGI eagle, Lam Suet's triad scuffles, and needlessly repetitive coin flipping scenes with Ekin, etc. But Johnnie To's direction is still inspired at times, you know, which will help you sit through this a little bit because the way he shoots the film is interesting to watch. There are also some legitimately fun sequences, like the foot chase that transitions to a bike chase, and it's different because they're within I don't know, 20 yards of each other like the whole time, which is pretty interesting. And they take breaks, and they're just like sitting there like out of breath looking at each other. I like that scene. The foot chase to bike chase was a funny scene, but there's not that many inspired scenes in this movie. There's only a few. And overall, there's a lot of flaws. You know what I mean? So do I recommend Running Out of Time 2? No. No, I do not. If you watch the original and you love it, there's nothing that I can say that will deter you from checking out this sequel. You'll probably watch it no matter what I say. However, if you do decide to watch it, I say that you go in with lowered expectations. It is available on DVD and Blu-ray in the United States and Hong Kong. And as always, I'll see you next time.